Today I'm going to be looking at a game I played as Spread Rampant Green versus Bradenburg-Prussia 6. The Spirit, I tend to have some difficulty beating Bradenburg-Prussia. I think it's just because, yeah, you could stall out a ton, but for whatever reason, I just find it's more difficult for me to get the fear and damage that I need. Although I see people online saying it's a decent matchup, but maybe I'm just not playing it as ideally as I should. The first couple turns, I mean, all you're really doing is trying to put as much presence out as possible. Sands and wetlands are building. And as long as you have your presence in there, or a sacred site, you can just stall until you get more powers that are able to deal with buildings. So using the card to push out of town, and ideally we want to gather everything into one land, and I think if we really wanted to be exact, we should gather everything into sands or mountains, just to maximize the damage with stem the flow of water. But yeah, sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. So whenever I'm gathering cards, Spread of Rampant Green has kind of two modes of dealing with your enemies. One is either a defend to counterattack with the Han, or using your other power to deal damage to buildings. And the ones with buildings are require moon, and then the ones with defend require water. So usually, since Bradenburg-Prussia is so fast, I try to emphasize getting moon elements, just so that I can get up to the higher tiers of my offensive innate more often. One thing to note is that you can only place presence from your, or you can only place your destroyed presence with your growth options and not your cards. So when I was kind of learning this matchup, I wasn't sure. I was kind of experimenting with how to, like, when to use my destroyed presence and then when to just place it from my growth tracks, because I got into some situations where I would need to place more presence on the board, but because I'd already emptied out my growth tracks, my cards couldn't support my putting presence on the board. So I'm not sure exactly what the optimal way to do that is. So I have defend 2, and I am trying to get the 2 moon out to deal with the town. Here I don't really have much option other than forgetting a card if I really wanted to. Just because I have like no energy and no sun. So I opt for not forgetting my card. So I can destroy a town here. I don't know where is the most ideal. Yeah, maybe that wetlands just because it's coming up multiple times, but who knows? So I grow here, and this is where I start taking off presence from my destroyed, or taking presence from the destroyed presence rather than my growth track, just because I only have two more presence on my growth track. So if I want to use Gifted Proliferation again to use the card, I kind of have to save some on the actual presence tracks. I'm not sure if this is the right play in this situation, but something I was considering. Here I have to decide yeah, so I take presence from both of them, but the coast is gonna ravage, and I don't have either of my cards that place presence available right now. So just placing the one presence is kind of just asking to get a blight and lose a presence, so it's not super great. I end up getting a nice fear to put a strife, which will save that to Han, and keep the blight out also, so I can get a counterattack, and then remove a presence to avoid the ravage. I can kill another town, and probably I want to do the bottom jungle, I'm assuming. Yeah, that power needs a Dahan for targeting. And jungles are building, so ideally I don't want another city there. So I push it into sands and then use that to target to turn it into a Dahan. And then go for another town in wetlands. I need a reclaim here. So I place presence from my destroyed presence pool again. Get another minor power, and I just go for something with moon in it. It does have moon and plant, so those are two that work really well with the innate. And I can get to tier 3 of my innate, so I can take out a city. Dark and Tangled Woods, it has the defend, but it also has the fear generation that we're pretty desperate for. Wetlands are ravaging, but I mean, I just need to destroy a presence to skip the ravage. I have a lot of moon already, so it's not a big deal to just forget a card, or not forget a card, discard a card. And I choose to discard the other card that places the presence, just because it's kind of losing its value since we're near the getting nearer to the end of the game. So we're already to stage 3, and I'm only in terror level 1 still. So it's getting to the point where I really need to generate a good amount of fear if I can. So that's kind of why I wanted a lot of cards with Moon and Plant, so that we can yeah, finally I'm at terror level 2. So I can keep using the innate. Mountains and jungles are going, but kind of in a situation where I don't have a lot of presence in mountains, and I mean I have a good amount of blight left, so it's not that big of an issue. I hit another card that has Moon and Plant. So I do get a defend. So I think I want to, I really need to so I think ideally I'd like to defend in the jungle, the coastal jungle. But the mountains also the middle mountains has that blight in it, so I'm not sure which ones to prioritize. I feel like I maybe should have prioritized the coastal jungle, but just because it's ravaging and then also building. But I do have, I mean, I guess we don't have to worry too much about jungles or wetlands just because our growths are really good at getting presence into there. Jungle shows up again, and Call of the Dahan Ways I think is actually the MVP for this game, just because it kind of gets rid of towns really easily and synergizes with the elements that we already get. Jungles and sands are ravaging, and we don't really have, well, I guess we have some cards that can defend. So get some more minor powers. In this case, I don't hit any of the elements I really want. And I think I have enough powers here that I'm just gonna place presence from, like, empty out the growth tracks. And I want to prioritize playing Moon and Plant, and just try to keep repeating the innate so that I can get rid of all these cities. Oh, and then Drought's really good. So Drought, I think, really comes in clutch because I have enough blight to kind of I have enough blight to spare. Ideally, I want to get a Moon. Yeah. So here, Gift of Proliferation is kind of just there for the elements because I don't have any presence on my tracks anymore. And I think I'm second guessing which cards to use because I'm realizing Gift of Proliferation doesn't do much. So that this card defends 3, so that deals with that jungle. And well, I guess Gift of Proliferation will allow me to move a presence, so I think that has some utility in that case. Deal with the sand, so I get a counterattack. So I used the beast here to, actually I had 2 beasts in there, so that was actually a really fortunate event. Deal some damage to the cities, and then I can use my innate to clean up some. Drought does a ton right there, and then clean up the extra city, and then I have 2 more damage, so I kind of get exactly what I need on the last turn. Yep, and that's the game. Thanks for watching.